Hi gang, Rob here. It's the afternoon of September 2015, and I've got another from the sharpening bench video for you guys. If you've noticed, we've had a bunch of these lately because I'm sharpening almost full time. What we have is the Benchmade 755 MPR Mini Pocket Rocket, designed by Shane Siebert or Siebert. I'm never quite sure how to say that. It is sort of a stubby, fat utility blade. I'm going to try to do most of this right-handed because it is a right-handed tip-down only knife. And it's fat. Big old 160 thousandths stock of Bowler M390. Really good stuff. And it is, I guess you'd call that a bayonet grind. A 3-inch long blade with a bayonet grind, sort of a spear point with a swedge and full flat ground for almost 3/4 of an inch. Darn thing's about 2 inches deep, top to bottom, I think. Let's check that. No, I guess not. Over 1.5 inches though. And I've got to say, on sort of a, kind of a badass looking utility knife, it's still a utility knife. It comes down to a really nice 20 thousandths of an inch behind the edge. This is my 15-degree secondary bevel, and look how skinny it is. I mean, this thing, cutting is not the problem with this knife. There's a couple reasons not to love it, but its cutting ability is not one of them. M390 takes a fantastic edge, and when you do it super skinny, I've just got a little, really mini micro, 18-degree bevel on that thing. Oh, it's really good. Better than I expected. So many companies come out with these little sort of bulldog knives, and they're fat behind the edge, and you can't really use them for anything. Could you pry with this? You bet. If you get that flat wedged in somewhere, look at, you've got 160 thousandths of thickness, but when you really need to cut, you can cut. So let's talk about the rest of the knife. Oh, by the way, a very well executed ricasso. We've got a titanium frame lock that's sort of a bolster lock, to use Will Moon technology or terminology. G10 on the show side, big old pivot. This is a first production run, number 184 of 1000, and these all had the machined titanium clip. Later models, I think due to breakage in this clip, started to have a stamped spring clip. Did I mention the handle is 600 thousandths thick? It is. It's a beast of a little knife. 5.3 ounces too. 3-inch blade, 4-inch handle, about 7 inches overall or so. So let's see. Well, I got to tell you a little story about a man named Jed when it comes to lockup. So I took some footage during post sharpening and disassembly for cleaning and lube that I think you're going to want to see. It didn't come like this. So take a look, guys. It's not a good story because it's a Benchmade frame lock. Either I get the only bad Benchmade frame locks they make, because when I say something bad about them, you guys climb all over me. I've got one of those and it's perfect. It's always been perfect. Well, I had issues with the 760. There have been several Benchmade models over the years that have sort of flimsy, weak frame locks and weak detents, and this one is interesting too. So take a look. I'll be back after. So here is the lockup as received. You can see it's probably about 50%. I hope I can get a good shot of this radius for you on the blade tang. It's a radius that's nearly perpendicular, there you go, at the left side, and then it steepens markedly as it goes over to the right. So where the lock bar is contacting the blade tang now is very unstable. So I'm going to put negative pressure on the spine of the blade with my thumb on the stud so it doesn't fly closed on me if it fails. You guys pay very close attention to that lock bar interface. And listen. Watch it walk over. That to me is ridiculous. Two things contribute to that. One is the steepness of the radius. The second is, once again from Benchmade, a ridiculously flimsy lock bar. A 2-year-old could unlock the knife. I'm going to take it apart now, and using the gimmicky, overly complicated, faceted stop pin, I'm going to try to change the engagement of the lock bar. So believe it or not, coming from me, I'm going to try to make it earlier, because if it locks up early, it doesn't move, because the surface of the blade tang is more perpendicular there. So, and I'm also going to try to put some more tension on the lock bar. So stick with me, see what we end up with. Okay, we're back, and sometimes the best laid plans of mice and men can go astray, and this would be one of those times. As I went to disassemble the handle, one of the body screws, this one right here, has a stripped head. I don't know if my customer Michael has had this apart or whether it was apart several times before he got it, but that screw will not be coming out, so I had to do all this by sliding the blade and washers out after removing the pivot. So here's what we're looking at, guys, on this stop pin situation. It is 6-sided, so I've got it adjusted now so that one of the peaks is at its maximum exposure. See if you can see that. So it's going to contact the blade tang as early as possible. Other than that, seems to be a pretty well constructed knife. Nice beefy pivot with no D-shaped restraint, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but this pivot was extremely loose when I got the knife. It does have a nice fine thread, so I think with a proper amount of Loctite properly cured, it should hold okay. Washers have been polished. Notice they used a big washer on the offside, small one on the lock bar side, so this bears a lot of the forces and doesn't let things cantilever. Should make it nice and smooth. We'll see what we got when we get it back together. Okay, we're all back together. And let's see what we got. Looks like about 35% lockup. And I'm not actually on, I'm not on full short or full early. I'm a little off full early to get there at 35-40%, and I've got no lock walk, no vertical play, and just a little tiny bit of lock stick just because we're hitting a new place on the lock bar, but it's not. It's sort of that good stick. Just, you know, let you know it's engaged a little bit. Centering came out great. Nearly a free dropper. That should work loose just a bit over time. So we got good solid lockup now. I was not able to increase the tension on the lock bar because I couldn't get the knife apart to do it. But just a Benchmade Framelock thing. Okay, we are all ship shape now. We have really good lockup, just a tiniest bit of stick, as I mentioned in the interlude there, that should work its way out. So other than still having a really, really, really weak tension on the lock bar, and as a function of that, the detent's not very strong, but it doesn't need to be. It's not going to fall out of the handle, I don't think, unless you want it to, which I did that time. At least it's secure now. I mean, before, when I first got this thing, you could move the tip of the blade 1/8 of an inch up and down. You could see that. You guys saw it. You see that lock bar just wah, wah. That ain't good. Benchmade for, and you guys know what these knives cost. They're a couple $100, I think. Either learn how to make a Framelock Benchmade or stick to your axis lock, because it ain't working like it is. And come on. Now we got to worry about whether this one screw comes loose on this faceted stop pin and that thing starts to turn. Just make it right. How about that? Just make it right so we don't need to worry about it. Just me. Your mileage may vary. Opinions may as well. Too bad, though, because I think it's a neat little package. If you're somebody that uses your knife at work all day long and you want to use a nice sort of high-end EDC instead of a utility knife with blades that you snap off, this could be a really good option, especially in such an amazing steel as M390. You could literally use this knife hard all day long for years with minimal sharpening, I believe, as long as your lock doesn't fail. Pretty cool looking little thing too, isn't it? Too bad it's tip down right hand only. I might own one. No, I wouldn't. So thank you, Benchmade, for making it right hand tip down only, because now I won't buy one and I won't have to wonder about that lock for the entire time I own it. That is all for this one, my friends. Cool little knife with some normal Benchmade defects. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and Mike's Mini Pocket Rocket are sharp.